Hi everybody, this is Marchi, and in this videos I will show you how to make a cutscene and switch to your character controller. We will start by creating our script. I call it intro start. We'll need some private game objects. The game object to be visible. We have the ones we will want to active. After that, we will need an animator, private animator, because we will want to animate the UI. After that, we have some floats. These values will be useful to play with the time in the I enumerator. So in the void start, you will need to get a component animator from the UI, and after that you will start the coroutine, and I call it intro cut. In the I enumerator, we will need to create a pause before set the trigger to play. So we have wait for seconds intro time. After that, when the animation started, you will need to wait some seconds before we disable and active some game objects. So we have anim character intro, and we have player character to set to false and true. And when everything's done, we will switch off the cutscene camera. Now you can see in my scene I have a third person player controller, so I need to disable it. Now create an empty game object, and I call it intro cut manager. And after that you will need to add the script rewrote. For the moment, we can add into the intro start script the third person controller. Now we need to create a canvas, and I need to delete the event system because I use the new input systems. Now create a black image for the UI to be able to make the transitions. Presently I don't have any camera because my third person controller is disabled, so we will need to add a new one in the scene and name it intro camera. When everything is done, go back to your image in canvas, change the white color to black, and make sure to match the resolution of your screen. After that, change the alpha value to 0. Now in window sequencing, click on timeline. Now create an empty game object and call it timeline. In the timeline menu, create, name it timeline, and make sure in the playable director that play on awake is check. In our script, we'll need to assign the cut camera. Find your 3D models you want to put in your scene for the animation and put it in place. I will just make sure to add the good material to my character. If you have the same objects in your scenes, just make sure to have a different name, so I will add the intro. Now go back to your script and add the anim character intro. Select the black image and add an animator, and assign it to the script and add some values. Now I'll just move some game objects in my hierarchy that won't belong. I will also change my layout to be able to drag the animation in the timeline. In your timeline, add 2 animation tracks. You need to add an animator to your camera, your cutscene camera, and now you will be able to drag your camera in the timeline. Also drag your character intro in the timeline. Now I will change my layout again, and I will create the animation for the camera with the timeline. When you want to animate something, just click on the record button next to the animation track. For the next step, we will need to drag our animation in the timeline, so I will drag my wake up animations. I see that my character just disappeared in my game viewport, so we will need to bring it back with the move and rotation tools in the inspector of the animation. I will move my character around to find the perfect positions, and after that I will need to also drag the idle animation in my timeline, just beside the other animation. I will need to make the same process, so bring the idle animation at the good positions, tweak everything, and when I find the right position, if you want to blend the animation, just overlap the two animations in the timeline. So we have a nice transition between the two animations, and if you want to make everything more alive, we can add sounds. So I have basement sounds, very simple. I find it in my project files, just drag it into the timeline, and there will be an audio source that will be created. Next step will be to tweak the animations with the camera and the sounds. So I will just play around, make it okay. Now, the last part of the tutorial will be to make the transitions with the UI. So we will need to go back to the canvas image, go to the animation panel and click on create. I name my animation black to clear, click on the record button and add a solid black to your image. Move the timeline to the right and change the transparency to 0. Create an animation clear and do nothing. The last animation is transitions. We will need to make a transition between clear to black and to black to clear. So do like I do. You can use Ctrl C and Ctrl V to paste your data on the timeline. So for the last part, you will need to go to the animator of the black image, make sure to set default for black to clear. In parameters, you need to add a trigger. We will call it, like in the code, play. Also, you will need to find your animation in the inspector and to uncheck the loop animation. Don't forget to add the condition play to the transition from black to clear to transition. Now it's time to tweak your value from the enumerator. So into intro times and transition time, just make sure it's fit your animations and your sequence. I know that was a lot of information in a short time. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. This was really a basic overview of what you can accomplish with timeline and some scripts. I hope you enjoy it. To support me, sign up, subscribe. Now you can watch the cutscene. I'm out.